So we put a poll out on our CHGO Bears Twitter account.
And now it is on the YouTube page.
Now it's also on the YouTube.
Maybe it differs.
Timing.
We'll see.
Lawrence.
Who would be the most controversial pick at number 9? Your options are Jalen Carter, Bijan Robinson, Peter Skoronski, Jaxon Smith-Njigba.
When we were discussing this before the show, Hoge and I were adamant that it absolutely 1,000% would be Jalen Carter. But apparently that's not how it's being voted on in Twitterland. Correct, Adam Hoge?
Yeah, let's update this right here.
Let's get an updated situation.
And while you do that, Joe is sending a super chat for us saying that drafting JSN would save them approximately $20 million in the next 2 years because they can let Mooney or Claypool walk.
Possibly.
Yeah, that is an option.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure they got to worry about that until they have to pay Justin Fields, but it's a decent point. Yeah, right now Bijan Robinson running away with it at 56.9%. Jalen Carter is number 2 at 28.3%. Third, with only 9% of the vote, Jaxon Smith-Njigba, and then coming in last, which I guess is somewhat surprising considering how everyone seemed to be so upset about Peter Skoronski the other day. Peter Skoronski is last with 6%. So,
and I think that one's interesting because of all the talk about Peter Skoronski. Because if you said you're drafting Skoronski and he's playing tackle, Bears fans will hate you for it. Absolutely hate you. But if you're also drafting a guard in the top 10, you also hear Bears fans saying, absolutely not. You don't draft a guard in the top 10. So I guess when we look at the guys that we put on here at 6%, it makes sense. But I just know he's been a very polarizing guy these last couple of days.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, they're clearly not going to draft a running back considering everything they've done this offseason. But I would also think that at some point in the draft that they would take a swing at a running back as well. But that would be like, would Poles be as skill position focused to draft a quarterback, a running back, and a receiver in this upcoming draft? Would he do that? And if he doesn't do that, like which one gets crossed off first?
By the way, I could totally see that happening. You have 10 picks.
Right, they could. Obviously.
I right now would be shocked if they don't draft a wide receiver. I would be shocked if they don't draft a running back. And considering that P.J. Walker is the only other quarterback in that room right now besides Justin Fields, it wouldn't shock me at all. I wouldn't say it's as big of a priority, but I could totally see them drafting a quarterback too later.
I think that's the last one, though. It probably you think wide receiver, running back, but quarterback would probably be last for me if I'm looking at it, even though they do have the 10 picks. But you still need to have depth at those positions. And Deontay Foreman's not a sure thing. Khalil Herbert still needs to prove himself. You need another running back in that room. And we just talked about wide receivers and how you need depth at that position. So definitely a possibility.
It is also interesting to me that people didn't just go all in on Jalen Carter in this. Like, are Bears fans...
I think they picture it as value at 9.
Right.
And the talent that he still has.
Right. And
that's the thing.
Exactly. And
I guess what I don't understand is if Jalen Carter...
It's the biggest swing.
If you're okay with Jalen Carter, you think it's less risky at 9, then why is Peter Skoronski's arm length so risky? When you could easily slide into guard. And
that's the thing.
Like, that's what I don't understand. Like, those don't add up to me. Monty says $4.99. You think people don't want the Bears to draft Skoronski because it isn't sexy and are using the arm length as an excuse?
You think people don't want the Bears to draft because
I don't know why people. I don't know. I'm not one of those people, so I don't know.
Yeah,
there seemed to be an incredible amount of pushback to Peter Skoronski the other day.
Well, they're pushing back on the fact that, like, you're saying that, or the people were saying that you're saying that he's definitely a tackle.
Which is not what I said.
Which is not exactly what you said, exactly.
At all.
So that was the pushback. But to Monsi's point, I think there is a lack of sexiness to drafting an offensive lineman that would be, I think most Bears fans would look at like, that's reasonable, that's a position of need. You clearly think that, I would hope that you're drafting who you have as the best player on the board, and I'm not going to, instantly run out and buy a bottle of my favorite whiskey and or whatever you do for fun in life because they just drafted an offensive lineman, because it's not exactly the most exciting thing to watch on the football field versus someone like Jaxon Smith-Njigba who will be sprinting to the end zone and hugging Justin Fields. That sounds a lot more fun to me. They're not going to do that, but that would be like, that's why I want position players. They're more fun to watch.
I just think it's super interesting that I really do think Ryan Poles has been sticking to best player available, both in the draft and free agency. Like, pretty much every decision we've seen him make is based on that. Mm-hmm. And I do think there'd be a small riot if they drafted Bijan Robinson. But what if he's – we all think he's talented as hell. What if he's truly the best player available at 9 and nobody's calling the trade up? Don't you think, based on what we've seen from this general manager so far, that it's not like he would go down the list and go to the next guy just because he's a running back?
Depending on where he would go, when you overdraft someone, I don't have a huge problem with it. But I do have a problem, like when the Patriots, who did they take last year? Who was that offensive lineman they took? They literally drafted him 3 rounds ahead of where he was supposed to go.
Yeah, but he turned out to be pretty good.
Oh, God.
Right, but you're not, like, trade back.
But what if they tried? Everyone always says that. Trade. What if nobody's calling?
Then roll the dice. If he's really going to be a 3rd-round pick, then roll the dice and take somebody that's like.
But how do you? But if
Cole Strange, there you go. Cole Strange, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
If there's one team that thinks he's worthy of taking, then don't you think there's another one?
Probably.
We get too caught up in sometimes these media mock drafts and don't really
Yeah, I was
pay
listening to
attention that what's going on internally in the NFL is oftentimes very different.
Yeah, I was listening to the Athletic Football Show, and there's one of the GMs, former GM, was on there. It's like, trading back is difficult. Like, it's just not something where, we're just going to trade back. Like, you obviously need 2 to tango, right, to make this happen. And it's like, it's not as easy as just saying it. So, yeah, it's no guarantee.
Oh, come on.
Cram Strange.
Braggs is drinking.
Thursday, 12:30.
Seth Crane with a $5 super chat. Skoronski falling to a team like the Steelers/Pats and becoming an all-pro is my worst nightmare. Seen it too many times. I was watching a good amount of Skoronski tape yesterday. I was watching him against Wisconsin and watching him against Nebraska, a game you were at on the sidelines.
Yeah.
You know how I kind of describe his tape?
Want to know.
Boring. It's so damn consistent
Yeah.
that it's just like, it's boring, which is how it's supposed to be.
That's true.
It's a compliment because it's like, wow, literally every play is the same. They're just, one, they're trying to avoid him because they know how good he is, and then someone tries to run. Nope, not working. He blocked you.
I was watching Brandon Thorne. He does like these in-depth breakdowns that he did with Skoronski, and the thing that he kept going back to was like his patience, how he kind of approaches each and every rush. Into your, like what you were just saying, Adam, it's the same approach every single time, and that's what makes him such a good prospect.